It's best described as a day-long garden party, where a limited number of guests, 3,000 only to be precise, spend the day sipping champagne, nibbling on caviar or salmon, and taking in an enviable collection of some of the finest cars known to man.
All of you smiling and the most beautiful cars around.
The Quail, a motorsports gathering, celebrated its 10th anniversary this year and as always was held in the lawns of the Quail Lodge Golf Club in Carmel. One Bugatti Veyron is a special sighting, and getting to see 5 of them standing next to each other, well, that is pretty rare, isn't it? Well, that's the kind of thing I'd expected really when I came in here to the Quail Gathering. And besides the cliched things, you know, that you expect to see, the classic cars, the fancy hats and the champagne flutes, there's also stuff like that. Nice big engines rumbling away in the background, and also a lot of contemporary cars too, so it's a nice little mix of everything. Let's get straight into it.
Chooses an enthusiast car that best represents the true spirit of motoring, including design.
It is similar to the Pebble Beach Concours, only in part, since this collection of cars is a mix of old and new, with the focus being on the exotic and the expensive. So I was amazed to find vintage Alfa Romeos and some gorgeous classic Porsches sharing the stage with new cars like the Bentley Continental GTC or the rather smart new Cadillac ATS. The Pagani Huayra is just loaded with carbon fiber, and if you think the car looks absolutely outlandish on the outside, just look at the styling. Wait till you see what it looks like on the inside. Pagani is an Italian manufacturer that specializes in niche sports cars and yes, also makes carbon fiber. The Huayra is its most ambitious car yet, and it's priced at $1,150,000. Now here's a car I would absolutely love to drive. Not just because it's a sports car, not just because it looks absolutely outlandish, but because it's also got a 6-liter AMG engine in the back with 1,000 Newton meters of torque. What are you going to do with that much torque? It's just unbelievable. And of course the way it looks, the instruments, it's completely out of a Hollywood movie. That's how I feel right now, as if I'm in a sci-fi space age movie. Okay, so enough of the newbies, eh? Back to the classics, because after all, that's why I'm here, right? For car enthusiasts, coming to an event like this becomes special also because you get to see classics like these. A brand like Porsche, for example, this one, the 1955 356 Continental. The idea is, you know, you get to see the evolution of that brand as well, right next to a 73 Carrera. The point I'm trying to make is that these are cars that you sometimes, you know, just read about them. You've just seen them on the internet or in coffee table books, but you get to see them standing next to each other like this. And from a design point of view, from an engineering point of view, you get to really understand that evolution so much better. And then, of course, we have to come to the brand which always captivates and gets a lot of attention, the prancing horse Ferrari. So you know how when you give a computer too many commands, it just hangs? Well, that's how my brain feels right now. It's just insane, the number of special classic cars that are here, all in one spot. Now, this particular end of it is the Ferrari exhibit. What you're seeing here is all sorts of classic Ferraris. There's Dinos, Daytonas, GTOs, all of them in mint condition, cars that have been driven here. And, you know, I'm not looking at them in a museum. They're all here under the beautiful blue sky, like this 1963 GTO, for example, looking absolutely stunning in bright red. The Quail Gathering attracts all kinds. This includes celebrities and notable auto personalities too. This year saw Sir Stirling Moss being interviewed on stage. The legendary British racer is a motorsporting icon who has won several endurance and Formula One races. He's been associated with brands like Lotus, Maserati and Mercedes-Benz. I got very lucky and managed to speak to Sir Stirling too. When you look around and you see these people and the cars and just the kind of atmosphere and excitement,
well,
what does that mean to you?
This is what the atmosphere is you get with historic cars. The people are not necessarily old, but the cars are. And of course now you look at these cars, they're probably 10 times better than they were when they were new. But it's lovely to come here and meet like people, you know. I mean, we all have the idea of this is a nice sport to be connected with, and so it's always great to come here.
What are some of the? It's an unfair question to ask because I've got all these different achievements of your career in my head, but what are some of the big milestones that stand out for you?
Well, the races are quite different, but I suppose the Mille Miglia is probably my greatest overall type of thing, and the Monaco in 1961 is another one, also Nürburgring of that year, but remember I drove 108 different cars in 590 odd races, so it's quite a big selection.
And the most difficult car for you to drive in
terms
of
the most difficult
controlling
car,
it?
Yeah, the most difficult was certainly the BRM, which stood for British Racing Motor, which was a disaster. I mean, it was never was successful and should never have been built. But if you ask the worst, that is it.
And you know, I mean, the Monaco race, for example, things are so different today as far as racing is concerned. Just the kind of electronics you have on a car. Back then, it was all about how much you could get out of the car, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Purely, I mean, it was down to the driver. And the races in those days, remember, were 3-hour minimum. And Monaco was 3 3/4 hours, but it was the driver and the car, and I think if you have a really great driver like Fangio, he's probably worth 25 or 30% of the winningness of the car. Now, the very best driver in the world, however good he is, only contributes probably 5 or 6% because the cars are so good.
Do you still follow it as keenly though? I mean,
Oh yeah, not as keenly obviously as when you're driving, but I mean certainly I still follow Formula One. It is interesting rather than exciting.
Do you get a chance to see or experience any of the cars that you used to drive? Do you have any of them with you now?
No, I do have an RS61 Porsche, which I drove in 1961, of course. I'm not racing it at the moment because I retired when I was 82. I thought probably that's long enough, so I've now got them and I'm keeping them because they're worth more to me as they are in my care than selling them.
How often do you get to just you in a car? How often do you get to do that these days?
On a circuit, you mean, and enjoy the car?
Yeah, on a circuit.
Oh, only once or twice a year, maybe. Very, very rarely.
And out on the open road?
Oh, on the open road, I try different cars whenever I get the opportunity. You know, if a manufacturer brings out something, say, try this, I'd certainly do that.
Anything specific that you've driven, let's say, recently that really impressed you, that you like what they've done?
Not specifically I can think of like that, but the great thing you've got to realise is that cars today, even the worst car is still quite good by comparison to old ones, you know.
Which is not how it used to be.
Not at all. I mean, there were cars that were so bad that you wouldn't want to drive them. Now, if you're talking road cars, I really have a job to think of, oh God, that's an awful beast. There aren't many.
That's true. But, you know, what we've also seen is a resurgence of the British brands.
Yes.
They're all doing really well, you know, from a market point of view, but also from a product point of view. They're sort of really holding their own now. You've seen even McLaren coming out with the MP 412C. Is that encouraging for you to see that resurgence?
I think it's terrific. I mean, obviously the McLaren is a very special vehicle and it's only ever going to be sold in 1s and 2s, you know what I mean? But to see that technology going around and it being British technology, that's very good. I mean, we have developed, one thing you've got to remember is every car in the world now, I think I'm right in saying, has disc brakes. Yeah. Those disc brakes were developed by Jaguar and Dunlop, including and the guy, their engineers, and I helped with it. And that is, to me, something of which I'm very proud because it's very, very, very important.
How do you view today's Formula One driver? I mean, do you think these guys are? Of course, everybody wants to win. But how do they approach it? Do you think they approach it the same way you used to?
No, I don't. Nothing like the same. But the point is, it's just such a different. It isn't a sport anymore. It's a business, a very good business, beautifully run, and the drivers drive well and all that. But it isn't. It used to be a sport, and obviously you can't make a thing that was the real business into a sport again. It doesn't happen.
As I mentioned to you, I've come in from India, and it's a part of the world where many of our people are now waking up to motorsport. It's not something that we've always had, but it's exciting. Do you think it's nice to see that motorsport is getting popular in parts of the world?
I think it's wonderful. I mean, India, you've got what 300 million people or something.
A whole lot more.
Oh well, anyway,
1.2 billion.
Really? Well, I'm going over to join them for a thing of the Maharajas in February next year, I think. But no, I certainly look forward to going over there.
And we have our own Grand Prix now.
Yes,
so,
of course you do.
yeah.
And your own team, you know, and Force Injured. I mean, they're doing very well, very well.
India's #1 news app. Just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.